Vermont International Film Festival, then on to Brattleboro and St. Johnsbury and Montpelier. Look forward to seeing folks in Vermont. I'm Amy Goodman in Belfast, Northern Ireland, with Juan Gonzalez.
The viewpoints expressed in this program are the opinions of the people expressing them and are not necessarily those of Fresh Air Incorporated, its staff, or its board of directors.
Hi, this is Al McFarlane, host of The Conversation with Al McFarlane. You're listening to 98.3 FM, KFAI, Minneapolis. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. This is Juneteenth week. Everybody is celebrating, talking about doing Juneteenth. And today I want to use this program to focus on Juneteenth here in Minnesota and around the country. I have an article I'm going to start with, but I've got two good friends who will be joining me on the program today who both are doing major Juneteenth activities. Regular guest and friend is Jonathan Palmer. Jonathan is here and he's going to walk us through projects he's heading around Juneteenth. And we're going to be joined by another KFAI superstar, Kenna Cotman. Kenna is going to be just talking about things she's curating or leading for Juneteenth as well. And of course, I'm going to want to take some time to kick it with Kenna about her phenomenal lineage. Her grandmom started the show that she hosts right now on KFAI, and then her dad hosted the show, then she hosted the show, and now her daughter hosts the show. And this is the meaning of legacy, and she exemplifies that. She also exemplifies the meaning of excellence, of fierceness, and of commitment to cultural meaning making. She knows a lot about dance and about the body, about the movement and the movement of the people. So that's today's conversation. You're going to enjoy it. Let me just do a first thing here for a couple of seconds. I'll read part of an essay that's going to appear in next Monday's Inside News. The title is Juneteenth Reminds Us of Black Americans' Long Struggle for Education Following the End of Slavery. This is a piece published actually today on a service called The Conversation. We take a lot of our long-form stories from there, articles that are published by different, generally professors, educators. This one written by Rodney Coates, who's professor of critical race and ethnic studies at Miami University. And so a number of experts in a number of fields providing valuable insight and analysis that we enjoy presenting on the pages of Inside News. Well, Coates writes that the abolitionist and writer Frederick Douglass is known for many things, but perhaps the most significant is his views on education's relationship to slavery. Douglass himself was born into slavery in Maryland in 1818. Douglass described in his 1845 autobiography how one of his enslavers, Mrs. Auld, began teaching him to read when he was a child. Mrs. Auld's husband ordered her to stop giving Douglass lessons. Just at this point of my progress, Mr. Auld found out what was going on and at once forbade Mrs. Auld to instruct me further, telling her, among other things, that it was unlawful as well as unsafe to teach a slave to read, Douglass writes. To use his own words, further, he said, if you give a nigger an inch, he'll take an eel. A nigger should know something, know nothing but to obey his master. That's as much as I can read right now. That's that sets me off. Just that quote from Frederick Douglass. It's a way to begin this program. Jonathan, jump in first and talk about what Juneteenth is for me and what you're doing. And then I'm going to take just a second and I'll bring Kenna to talk about the things she's doing right now as well. But Jonathan, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Al, and glad to be here and glad to see Kenna. Juneteenth is a very, significant part of our history, and I don't know that people really understand how much it is something important. Oftentimes gets relegated over to the fact of it was just Major General Granger showing up, with the general order. But when you consider how long after the Emancipation Proclamation that was, when you consider how long after the end of the war, and that it is significant that there were people still in bondage at that time in Texas, their Confederate Army of Texas was already disbanded, and yet they were still being held in slavery. So what Juneteenth represents is the ultimate idea of freedom, freedom for everybody. And while it comes out of the African American experience, it is something that relates to anybody who has ever been in bondage, enslaved, imprisoned, the understanding of what freedom means and the significance of a closing down of a part of our history, that it was the transition out of, we'll say, out of one form of slavery, because you then get followed by Jim Crow, and then you get followed by the prison industrial complex. And so there's a lot of pieces that are still existing, and we're educating people around that. But Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom. It's a celebration of culture and heritage. It's a celebration of America. And I think there's a number of people who don't recognize that fully enough.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is The Conversation with Al McFarlane. And we're talking about Juneteenth. That's Jonathan Palmer. He's hanging out with me all day today to go in and out, and in the process, tell you about things he's leading in Twin Cities around Juneteenth. But Ken Cotman is here. Ken, let me bring you in. And in a minute, I'll be bringing in my friend, Rose McGee, a pioneer, author, creator, just a force of light in community. Again, talking about phenomenal things going on for Juneteenth, but things that we really live with every day, all day. We don't get over this. We can't get over it, and we're committed to it. Kenna, let me bring you on stage, and I'll bring you on stage as well, Rose McGee. Hey, Rose.
Hi.
Unmute your mic, Kenna. And
Hi.
Kenna, welcome. So good to see you again today. So
Yes.
early today.
Serendipity.
Yeah. So talk about what you're doing for Juneteenth. You've got a major event coming up this Friday, and then
I have a major event coming up this Friday, and I am here at the Legacy Building, which is the home of the Soul of the Southside Juneteenth Festival. And we are in our 5th year of producing this festival at the intersection of Lake and Minnehaha in South Minneapolis, and branching over toward the Coliseum building, the historic Coliseum building. And so it is a triangular shaped campus, all dedicated to Black liberation and joy.
And talk about the neighborhood and how this particular event emerged over the years.
I will. So the neighborhood is right in that area where some serious uprisings happened in 2020 and around thereabouts. And the owners of the Legacy Building, Fancy and E, who are also a rap duo called Illism, Fire, by the way, decided to come up with and create and turn their community and family Juneteenth celebration into something larger for the whole community. And so 5 years ago, they started with the Soul of the Southside Juneteenth Festival. And both Fancy and I are alumni of Park Avenue United Methodist Church, which is a place where we used to have this celebration called Soul Liberation every summer. And it would be like 10 days of music. But anyway, so we wanted to bring that vibe as well as that old school Theodore Wirth, Oak Park Juneteenth vibe of a celebration that everybody comes out to in order to honor, celebrate, and observe Black liberation, freedom, justice, and really joyful expression of Blackness, and creating a Black space in public that is an inclusive Black space for all to come and learn and raise awareness, and for Black people to really feel loved upon and just so grounded and whole in our relationship with the neighborhood, as you spoke of, because it's a site of a lot of uprising and a lot of turmoil, and still in question of what is going to happen to the police precinct that is situated on the corner. So by us being in presence and in space every single year with this Juneteenth festival, we are continuing to insert that Blackness, that liberatory energy, that Black pushing, as Nina Simone says, into the redevelopment of the space at Minnehaha and Lake in South Minneapolis.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you in a few minutes to talk about your legacy. I think legacy and lineage means so much. Jonathan and I talk about it all the time, going back to the European sides of our families, right? As well as the African sides of our family. But I know you've got just a special legacy in your family and your work. And I want you to talk about that. But let me say hi to Rose McGee first. Rose, how you doing, sister? So good to see you. It's been a minute. And you've got some marvelous things going on. Say hi.
Hi.
It's top of mind, but invite people to, enjoy what you're helping put together for this Juneteenth celebration.
Well, thank you. And, feel free to shut me up when I get to going too much. It's such an honor, Al, to be with you. It's been a while. I used to spend more time with you. And, I loved it when I was writing with Insight way back. You use that word legacy. And it's true, when we reach a certain point, we won't call it age. We'll just call it legacy. It sounds better. It has a smoother feel. And Jonathan, it's good to see you. And certainly little sis here, little Kenna, just all grown up doing her thing. It's so beautiful. But yeah, just, a series of things going on. I'm honored, to have some work that's being uplifted through the Minnesota Humanities Center. And we've got 5 different projects that we are really, gifting to the community. I don't know how much you want me to talk about for how long, but, I definitely am going to talk about the play, Kumbaya, the Juneteenth story. But for starters this week, Thursday, I believe, will be the annual brunch that Minnesota Humanities does. And there are maybe a few seats left, no more tables, I'm told. But go on the Minnesota Humanities website, and you can see all of them. And then next week, I'm really excited about Feeding Our Souls, the essence of joy, because we can't just talk about it. And I think Jonathan might have alluded to it a little bit as well. We have gone through a lot. It's been the case through generations, for centuries. But one thing that we always manage to do is find a way to uplift ourselves through those turbulent times. We still do. It's just as important. So we're doing that through food and through music, and it's just beautiful. We've got 6 chefs, 6 Black Minnesota chefs that will be preparing this food for everyone to taste and enjoy. And Vocal Essence will be, providing wonderful spirituals, and that'll be beautiful. Kevin Lindsay will be moderating that conversation. And then on, I think Miss Anika Robbins and her outdoor event is also one of the public events that Minnesota Humanities is involved in sponsoring. And then there's this play that is 30 years old. Al McFarlane, can you believe that? 30 years old, Kumbaya, the Juneteenth story. And if you have not seen it, shame on you, but be sure and see it this year, because 30 years, that's all I can think of, 30 years. So that's going to be Friday, next Friday, not this coming Friday, but Friday the 26th on the stage of O'Shaughnessy at St. Catherine University. And we've always mentioned KMOJ right there in the second scene, always have. And that second scene is staged in Lucille's kitchen. And Al, don't you remember back in the day when you used to host the event there at Lucille's kitchen? And we'd come in there and, that early in the morning.
I remember the wings at Lucille's kitchen.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
And everybody would come together. It was just where you come and find out what was going on right there. It was a thing. And then Sunday, the 28th, OMG Media that Miss Monique Monique Linder is doing a phenomenal film that will be released at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. So you just want to catch all of these events. Most of them are free. The ones that aren't, the fee is very low. So just come and check us out. I'll shut up on that note. Well, maybe there's one more note. That's why when Kenna had her props, I said, let me go get some visuals. And I ran over and grabbed this. Have you all seen Miss Opal Lee? You know who Miss Opal Lee is, right?
Oh my
Miss
gosh.
Opal Lee is the grandmother of Juneteenth. Had it not been for her perseverance and marching all the way from Texas to DC to make sure that Juneteenth would become a holiday one day. She did that a long time ago. And she just, celebrated her 99th birthday. She's in Marshall, Texas. But there's a doll. It's a Barbie doll.
Oh.
A Barbie doll of Miss Opal Lee is one of Mattel's Inspiring Women collections.
Okay.
So just had to bring her in.
That was great. Jonathan, what's going on? What are you doing for Juneteenth?
So we are over here in St. Paul. I'm on the other side of the river. We have the Rondo Commemorative Plaza. So we'll be having it out there, which has the history of Rondo, tells about the community. It's the first monument of its kind to Black and Brown communities that were decimated by the highway or other urban development. So we're in a historic place that we're hosting it. We've got some great music from Wenzo Ashby. He's going to be on opening up. We're honoring several elected officials who are leaving service or leaving their current service. So the governor, the lieutenant governor, the Senator Tina Smith, State Senator Sandy Pappas, and Mayor Herr with her historic election. We're also honoring our fallen brother, Yusef Mjeni. Posthumously, he's getting the Spirit of Rondo Award as one of the pillars of the community. And then we'll have activities, food trucks, different groups that are out here, and just some fun for the whole family. It's from 12 to 5 on Friday at the Rondo Commemorative Plaza, and free and open to the public. And so we're very excited.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is The Conversation with Al McFarlane. If you're checking us out on KFAI, thank you for being a listener. And if you're looking at us on any of the social media platforms, we thank you for connecting with us as well. We're streaming live to 2 YouTube platforms, the Insight News channel, but also the channel of the Black Press of America, Black Press USA. We're also on LinkedIn, and we're on 2 Facebook channels, one for Insight News and for Black Press of America. We'd love to have you connect, to have you join the conversation. We've got a ability to shout you out, drop us a note, let us know where you might be listening from in the chat on any of the social media platforms. If you're listening and want to send a note, just send a note to what's the right way to do it? To producer, I think. Actually, Jared, you can put in there how they can send a note to you for me to share if they want to, if they're going to pull over and send an email or a text. But let me read another paragraph or two from the article that I opened up with, giving you background. The article is entitled, Juneteenth Reminds Us of Black Americans' Long Struggle for Education Following the End of Slavery. And the author of the article is Rodney Coates, who's professor of critical race and ethnic studies at Miami University. The article will be in next Monday's edition of Insight News. Let's see, and I closed on a quote from Frederick Douglass. From that point, the article continues, Congress enacted the 13th Amendment on January 31st, 1865, abolishing slavery. It was not until June 19th, 1865, that word of the amendment reached the enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, making the origin of the Juneteenth holiday. The Biden administration declared Juneteenth a federal holiday in 2021. Today, Juneteenth commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S., but the story of formerly enslaved people continues to unfold in complex ways well after Juneteenth, including when it came to their educational journeys. Juneteenth made clear that freedom was not just confined to someone's physical enslavement, but mental enslavement as well, bound in laws that barred enslaved people from receiving an education in southern states. One more paragraph or two here. Subtitle is Making Learning Illegal. In 1739, the Stono Slave Rebellion took place in South Carolina. Fearing that educated slaves would go on to plot future rebellions, South Carolina passed an anti-literacy law in 1740, banning slaves from being taught how to read. Most southern states soon followed with anti-literacy laws of their own between 1740 and 1834 in the hopes of preventing any further slave rebellions. These laws applied to both enslaved and free Black people. Despite these laws, thousands of enslaved people still learned to read and write. In the antebellum South, literacy was a means of freedom. Meanwhile, the first African free school for Black children was established in New York City in 1787. The one-room schoolhouse began with 40 students, the majority of whom had parents who were formerly enslaved. 6 additional similar schools were created with public funding by 1824. I'll stop there and come back and read more a little later on. Kenna, education, you're an educator.
Oh my goodness, that passage, it brought so many intersections of Juneteenth and my own personal legacy. Because when you spoke about the Stono Rebellion and the outlawing of learning how to read, another thing they outlawed with that rebellion was the drums. And the drums and the oral tradition of storytelling, which my mother, Auntie Beverly, was a queen of that. Those were the oral traditions and the other ways of knowing. And ways of knowing is a phrase that I believe was coined or at least popularized in my consciousness by my father, Bill Cotman, because there are other ways of knowing. And him and his buddy J. Otis Powell, another ancestor, and there was another professor that they used to run with, and they had a class at the university called Ways of Knowing. Okay, and we would come there and do the poetry. And the projection and the images.
Was
and
it John Wright or August Nimps? Either one, August Nimps or John Wright.
August Nimps sounds like the right name.
Could be August or John. Could be John Wright. Either one of those guys. Yeah.
It could have been John Wright. That sounds. I know those names. That's another thing about legacy and oral tradition, right? It's like the names and the songs and the saxophone and the John Coltrane of it all is all swirling around. And I can hear J. Otis saying "bleed, bleed, bleed." So I just think about all of the other ways of knowing and communicating and the literacy of Blackness, the technology of Blackness that is contained within our music, our dances, our songs, our plays, Sister Rose McGee, our sweet potato pies, our chef. And I just, and so the intersection of that with Juneteenth is also because my own personal group is called Voice of Culture. And Voice of Culture is not only a drum and dance group, but also a nonprofit dedicated to the preservation of Black arts and culture, that very technology that sustained us and brought us through. And so at the Soul of the South Side Juneteenth Festival, I'm curating the culture stage. And the culture stage is a street level stage dedicated to Black dance and storytelling. So on Friday, June 19th, from 12 to 8, not only on my culture stage, but also over on the music stage and all around the whole Soul of the Southside Festival, will be swirling these stories. And I'm so glad that you brought up that story of General Gordon Granger riding into Galveston to announce and read. And back in the day, I made an old school a scroll. I put it on a piece of paper and then I had it like that. And then we wrote, and it says, all people formerly enslaved, be advised that you are now free, and that the relationship is no longer slave to master, but employer to employee. And our people were supposed to be paid for their work, because Galveston, as we know, was a commercial center, a shipping center, an importing center of the trade. And it's critical to this country's economic. It illustrates all of the ways that our people built this country. So that's why I love Juneteenth so much, because it is a celebration of the unique experiences of Black Americans and the ways that we took all of our traditions from all throughout the diaspora, and we distilled it down into things like jazz and hip hop and playing the dozens and those family reunion t-shirts where everybody got the matching and different tennis shoes and sneakers, all of those things, all those ways of technology. You know what I'm saying? Allen Iverson, that's all I gotta say. But it's only because of my legacy of my grandmother starting that. My grandmother, she knew all the jazz musicians, and then she came here and started mostly jazz. And she was
Talk
on the
about her,
radio.
Pat, right? Pat was your grandma's name?
Patricia Walton, my grandmother. She lived in San Francisco when I was little. And I remember going to visit her, and then she moved here, and she used to drive a red Mustang. It was a convertible. You could take the top down, and she would tool around in that Mustang, and she had her radio show. And she also used to go over to that International Drum Center over there on Lindale Avenue, Lindale and Lake, with Wallace and Andy Hill.
Yep.
And she was in the Shakere group. She was in the Shakere group. And so and then my mom, she started drumming with Nimli Napla. And the Liberians, okay? And my dad is always there with the camera, filming, documenting, archiving. And but my dad, so my grandmother had the radio show, and my dad, in an effort to get closer to his mother-in-law, began to go with her. And he didn't say anything. He just would accompany her, carry her bags, do whatever. And one day she looked at him and she said, "Say something, Bill." Say something on the mic. And he didn't know what to say. He said he had nothing to say. And so he said that would never happen again. So he went and got a dictionary of jazz, and he began to study, and he became a student of jazz and an aficionado. And there was another word about what type of, how he is. He's more than a fan, right? But he became a student of jazz, so that he said the next time that she put him on the spot, he would be ready and he would have something to say. Yep. And from then on, it was mostly jazz with Pat Walton and my dear son-in-law, Bill.
Yeah. What a wonderful show.
Yep. And then
it was wonderful to see. I watched you emerge in that space, right? And then what knocks me out then is after you, it's your daughter. And man, I can't tell you how phenomenal she is. Phenomenal. Yeah, but all of you, the whole family, but that's who we are. It's really us. Amazing.
Yes.
The point I'm making that I say, Rose and Jonathan, part of what we have to do is to practice seeing the God in each other.
Yes.
And you speak to the God in each other.
Yes.
And so when I'm looking at you, I'm looking at the Creator itself, herself in you. I'm looking at the divine in you, Jonathan. I'm looking at the eternal in you, Rose. And if we begin our conversation, our engagement with that spirit, with that understanding, with that vantage point, it simply means we have returned to where we have come from. And that is a place that is cosmic, that is eternal, that is the meaning and the reflection of peace, and also an acknowledgement of the possibilities of what it means to be a human being.
Ashe.
Rose, jump in, build on that.
Ashe.
Yeah. What do you think?
I just want to say that.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Rose. I just got to say, I knew your father, and he was just such a wonderful man, and we would be at events, and he'd be out with his camera, and just quiet but powerful. And I just remember many a conversation with him, and just. It is wonderful to see you carrying on his legacy and your parents' legacy, but I'm touched to know that now I'm talking with the daughter of a man that I used to just hang out with and talk social issues and watch his amazing photography.
Yes. And I appreciated the fact that he enjoyed my sweet potato pie.
Who doesn't, Rose? Come on.
It's
an institution.
Well, yeah, but I can remember Bill, and I didn't even realize he was as sick as he was. And we were Facebook friends, and I get this Facebook message, I could use a pie. And I got a pie over there to him. And I just, was so deeply moved by their lives both parents and their talents. And there's something very mystical and beautiful just in the way that they both ended up passing as they did. That's beautiful. I just know that what you've mentioned, Al and Jonathan and Kenna, is what we have to continue to share and expose to our children. We have to do it the way that we can do it. You mentioned Nimli Napla. Nimli's music was such an influence in the beginning of this play. And at that time, when they would be a part of the performance, when they would come into the play with their scene, Nimli and his dance troupe, well, shoot, it was hard to go back to the play because now that they've taken elevated the room with their, and so now the life was gone after they left. It's like, okay, how are we going to get back to the regular scene after that?
Nimli Napla Pan-African Dance
Company,
Ensemble.
yes.
And my mom was one of the first women to play djembe.
Oh,
because djembe is traditionally a man played by men, and back in that day, now we have women's drum ensembles. It's way more popularized, and I do believe we have Beverly Cotman to thank for that. She was one of the first women, because Nimli was like, "You want to play and she was like, "No," and she had the suit with the hat. She had everything. She said, "That's what I want to do," and I still have her djembe, and I still play it to this day. And if you come to the Soul of the South Side Juneteenth, you will see me play the djembe of Beverly Dolores Cotman.
Okay.
I will play it. I will play her djembe. And I will tell a story that she told, because another thing that I recently found and was able to, I do have to give a brief shout out to the Red Eye Theater, because they put me into their festival as a work in progress. And I was able to dive into my parents' archive in a way that I haven't been able to since their passing. And it really opened up and cleared some avenues for me. But one of the things that I got to figure out and discover what that was my mom's story archive and all of her notes. Because my mom, she was a docent at many of the museums, the Mia, the Walker, the Wiseman, and she always did a lot of research. She was an educator for herself. She was autodidactic in that way. Even as she's educating others, she's constantly learning herself. She would go and study and make notes on every exhibit that would come through, and every story that she would want to tell, she has notes. So even though she tells the story in the oral tradition, she has written notes and archive to back it up of where she got it from, and different, this version of stone soup, that version of stone soup, to come together to create. I'm telling you, I got my work is cut out for the next 10 years at least. It's going to be unarchiving and finding different ways to create things that weave my creativity so that people can interact with my parents' legacy.
Amazing. Jonathan, jump in.
Well, the importance of legacy can't be underscored. It is what I think brings us together and follows along the paths. I came to Minnesota because of my uncle Gleason Glover, and it's what led me into this kind of work. And what we see, especially within the African American community, is the passing of the torch and the handing down of legacy to the future generations. And that goes back to, I think, our oral tradition of keeping the stories alive, of following within your family and staying together. It's one of the things that kept us together throughout all the turmoil we had here in the United States. The legacy of Juneteenth gets tossed around a lot of times as not that big a deal. Or I'm reading an article now where somebody is talking about the myths of Juneteenth, where they're trying to explain, well, yeah, it didn't really free the slaves, because it only applied to Texas. Yeah, but Texas was the only place still having it. And it is funny to me how much people will try to deconstruct it, but in a negative way, where they try to look at what happened and how things came about, try to say, oh, well, this wasn't that big a deal. There was already this piece, and the Emancipation Proclamation was out there, and they should have known about it. They could have known about it, and they don't understand. And I don't think you fully can if you don't have African American heritage, if you don't have some connection that is strong to our community, because of the fact that for many people, reading it in books is where they come to know about it. For us, it's in our DNA. It's part of the generational trauma that exists in our community. It's part of the legacy of dance, of poetry, of the arts that we pass down, the freedom and celebration that we have. And so I think that there's a thing that the broader community, especially the white community, doesn't fully understand about Juneteenth, as it's not just a day off from work. It's not just something that we mark on the calendar or just say it's about freedom. It's about our culture and our heritage. It's about who we are and the African American experience.
Jonathan, you raised a really interesting point that I've been pondering ever since Juneteenth was made a national holiday. And the question for me is, like, what changes when we go from something that is observed from the fabric of community? Like you said, it's a legacy that's passed down. We know that sometime in early June, probably on the weekend, we're going to pull up at Theodore Wirth. You know what I mean? And it's like, what changes when we go from that to, like you said, now it is a day that some people have the day off and they have no idea why. Some people think that it is about the formal ending of slavery, when it's about something much more nuanced and rich than, like, even the word itself, Juneteenth. That is Black technology right there. Like, that's what, it's like, you don't have to explain when it's already understood. So I feel you on the whole, like, there's something special about being Black and understanding what Juneteenth is without having to explain it. And I think that I grapple with the tension between the opportunity to be inclusive and bring more people into understanding. And then I grapple with the loss of that special, sweet, sweet red Kool-Aid, you know what I'm saying? So I think everything must change. And I'm so grateful to those who fought for this, because whenever somebody Black decides that that's something they want, guess what? You get whatever you want. So you know what I mean? I support them, but it's just something, I'm just curious what you guys think about that. Like, what has changed for you since it became a national holiday?
I think of it like Rose McGee's sweet potato pie. See, now, if we don't tell anybody about it, there's more for us, and we can have more of the pies. But as we share it out to other communities, then they get a chance to try it. They get a chance to get a taste of what freedom tastes like. But we still have it. And we just need Rose to make more of them, so that other people outside can share. And there's still enough for us to keep 4 or 5 right on the side, kind of thing.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you all caught my message. I'm having technical issues. We have power outage in my neighborhood out here. But thank you for that, Jonathan. I have a book that the Minnesota Historical Society Press published called "Can't Nobody Make a Sweet Potato Pie Like Our Mama," because I have never tried to help tell anybody that my pie is the best pie. I would say no, it probably is not. The pie that's the best is the one that's made by that endearing person, whoever that is. Could be your mama, grandmama, uncle, granddaddy, daddy, whoever.
Or
and
that's
the beauty of making sure that we keep our heritage moving and alive. And this appreciation for food, our cultural food, is really important to me. And so I just feel that whatever we can do to pass it on. And the book also, it's an intergenerational thing. We don't talk enough about the beauty between our our grandparents and our children and grandchildren. And my little 2 grandchildren just came in last night. If you can believe, my son Adam has two babies. Anyway, the 4-year-old gets off the plane and comes to me and said, "I'm so excited to see you. I've been wanting to see you and see you and see you." Now, the beauty is she just saw me in January, but children are getting older and older. And the more they get older, the more they're going to retain about whatever that legacy is. And that's what you just explained, Kenna, naming all those people, those names, people that many people have never heard of and won't remember unless we continue to call their names. So for that little one, she just made my day when she said, "I've been looking forward to seeing you and seeing you." I said, "Seeing you?" I said, I've been looking forward to seeing you and seeing you and seeing you too. So we just have to do that. And that's how I feel about each of you. And as I extend the invitation again about the play, one thing that we're doing differently this year, with the play, we talk about Juneteenth. We talk about people coming out of slavery. And then that's the end of it. The jubilation was all around the folks who just got their freedom. And then, we kind of ended there. But this year, what we're doing in the audience, and I invite each of you to join us, we're going to do what's called a progressive march. And anyone who'd like to join us in that progressive march, we want you to. And that means that you're going to come into the theater and there'll be a young person carrying a sign, just like if you were in a protest march, and in front of it, it will say media. So Al McFarlane, if you're in that category, or it will say educators, or it'll say artists, or it'll say, law enforcement, or whatever it is, right? Or cooks, or CEOs, musicians. And behind that sign will be people representing that category. And so this is our first year doing it. So if we can get 30 or 40 people for the first year, we'll be real pleased. We've got 40 seats being held. So if you decide you want to join us, please let me know. But basically, you're to be at the theater by 1:30 so that we can get you lined up and you'll come in to Vocal Essence. You probably know G. Philip Schultz by now, the African-American conductor over there. And he will have a group of young people in the Vocal Essence choir who represents what is it they do? I just drew a blank. The one that they do back in February, that particular
the
concert.
Witness concerts.
Yes. So that's some of the Witness concert singers that will be singing the song Kumbaya as you come in, because that is the name of the play, Kumbaya, the Juneteenth Story. So please, we would love to have you join us in that procession. But we're calling it the Progressive March because it does show the progressiveness or the progress that we made since June 19th, 1865 and beyond. I mean, certainly if somebody else was writing that story, we were way before that, centuries before that, but that's another story, right?
Yep.
In terms of right here in this place as we know it. The other thing, and I'm going to shut up now, and the other thing that's bothering me, I think that was a question that you asked, what was it that we were feeling about now? The whole celebration around 250 years, the birthday of America, and all of that, tying in with Juneteenth right now. What exactly does that look like? What does that mean? Who's it representing? And how are we really being represented? And what's the deal? And so I just say that for us to think about that genuinely.
You know what? You made me think about two things, Miss Rose. One is that I have a bicentennial dress that my grandmother, my father's mother, Evelyn Cotman, made. So now I would have been 1 year old. So my dress is little and I have a little bonnet. And then my grandmother had a matching with this blue pattern. This dress is what I wear if like when we had old folks day at school, I would wear this dress and they would say, "You went real old." It goes down to the ground and up to my neck and down to the ankles and so she made those for us to wear for the bicentennial. And now I'm turning 52 this year. So I keep thinking about that, like, dang, I don't even know were we going to a celebration, a parade? I'm not for sure why we had a matching bicentennial outfit. But the other thing that you reminded me of when you told the story about your grandbaby saying, I can't wait to see you and see you and see you, is it reminded me of Brother Ashe. Brother Ashe is the grandson of Mother Notando Zulu. And Brother Ashe will be on the culture stage at Soul of the Southside Juneteenth Festival on Friday, June 19th. He's going to be up top around 12. And he is telling stories in the tradition of his grandmother. And so when me and Brother Ashe get together and work together, because we drum and dance together and tell stories together, he always tells, because he's younger than me, he reminds me that we are so connected through our grandmothers. Because Auntie Beverly and Mother Zulu, we're like this with the Black storytellers. And the Black storytellers are still doing it, been doing it, signifying, testifying, and they're having a Juneteenth book giveaway alongside with We Win, Rites of Passage, and some other organizations. And that's also on Friday, June 19th at 6 o'clock, I believe. And so Brother Ashe is going to be leaving the Soul of the Southside and going over to there. There's so many Juneteenths. It's Juneteenth.
That's right. That's right. Ken, I wanted you to sit with me, or have you sit in drumming as a way of knowing. Just the phrase ways of knowing, that's critical, number one.
Yes.
What does it mean when we say that to each other? Ways of knowing as opposed to, that's number one. And then I say that in that, drumming, dancing is a way of knowing.
Oh, yes.
Explore that. Explore those feelings as an artist, as a creator, and as an educator.
As an artist, as a creator, as an educator, as a child of William and Beverly Cotman, ways of knowing is something that I knew before I knew a term of it. When being in little and being surrounded by so much Black arts and culture at all times. Let
me jump in 1 second here, because what you just said. I think last week I had a brother on, Jim Embry, who's an environmentalist, right, a food scientist, James Beard awardee for community engagement around food, right? He said he remembers being inside his mother's body when she was in her mother's body.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Just the thought.
Yes.
The way of knowing. It means you've got a memory of the infinite.
Yes.
You have a memory and a relationship, a consciousness of the all, of existence itself. Go ahead.
Right. And these are things that can't be taught.
Right.
Because nobody could show him how to do that or to access that. It is something that springs up from within us. A way of knowing. My earliest way of knowing, I remember thinking I am me. And they say, for a while you think you're the same thing as your mother. And then there's a moment that sometimes there's a realize, and some takes longer than others. So but it's like no one tells you that. You become to know it. So it's the way of, when I hear a song that I've never heard before, yet I've heard it before. Yeah. When I'm dancing to someone who's improvising and we're right in sync. How can that be? When you freestyle rap, that's a way of knowing right there, because it's just coming out. And it's rhyming, it's making sense, and you're talking about the person walking by. Them dudes down in New Orleans who just be talking about everybody walking by, and it's rhyming and rapping. All of those are ways of knowing that my dad and his buddies were fooling around with these concepts and throwing them onto college kids, in the college class. And I remember going with them and seeing them set up all the projectors and the screens and the different cameras and all the different notebooks and different types of pens. And, it's the way that you say, no, I have to have this pen when I'm going to write this. I need this particular paper. This journal is for that, and this journal is for that. Who tells us those things? You know what I mean? When that play came to you, Miss Rose, You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we didn't go to school to be playwrights, but you knew that play was coming out.
It
So I
was,
feel like
but I tell you what really resonated with me when you said that was the pie making more so. I'm not a cook and I don't even like cooking. And I tell people all the time, the pie called me. I didn't call it.
yes.
Why couldn't it have been something easier, like a chocolate chip cookie or something? But to make a sweet potato pie, takes time if you're going to do it right. And yet, I hear you, because there's certain times when I have to be in a certain place when I'm making pies, depending on who I'm making them for and where they're going and what we're doing. And I have to make sure that it's this particular spoon that I use. I kid you not. I mean, there are various little things that we do depending on what it is that we're doing it for.
No,
And
and Miss Rose, I did a feature because
Rituals.
I self-produced a series called Moments in Black Minnesota History. And when I did my piece on you, Miss Rose, what I remember learning
I mean,
is, yeah, I'll send it to you. But
please.
yep, I remember learning about, but for me, what was blew my mind was when about the events and these whole events of all these people coming together to make the pies, and then we're donating them and to me that whole thing is like this whole ritual that and at the time you were doing it and it had to be on this day and this day of the year, and just that it's a Juneteenth. It's a whole nother Juneteenth, the sweet potato pie ritual of coming together and all doing that, and the healing that it brings.
Well, now
It's just
you got me sitting
It's
here
not
now.
just that, it is ancestral magic.
that
Yep.
When you
part.
think about magic, it is ritual. It is a certain spoon that you have to use. It's certain ingredients. And
Yes.
that was one of the themes of Sinners that was so powerful when they played the music, that it would call back your
Yep.
ancestors and bring that to, and that everything that your ancestors did have led to this moment in you, in who you are and in what you do, and being able to call back on our ancestors, get
Yes.
their strength, their knowledge, their heart, and be able to put that into a pie, into music, into workout in the community and the things we do. That's what makes this so special. That is what the essence of Juneteenth is to me.
And Jonathan, you bring me back to the whole idea of drumming and dancing as a way of knowing, because before we had these DNA kits that you can test, I was testing it through the drums and the dance, because I will go and study. They have dance conferences and dance teachers from the continent all throughout the United States. And I will go and study. And then this one teaches, okay, this is Fulafare. Oh, okay, this is Dundunba. Oh, okay, this is Lamban. Oh, this is Sabar. This is Wolosodon. And I'm doing the movements and hearing the rhythms. And some feel like home. Some is like, you don't even got to show me. Yep. And some is like, wait, what? I can't even hear the beat. What's going on? And so I was doing my own research in understanding and I found out I probably am Fula. I think I am. I'm claiming them because, boy, baby, when them drums come on for that Fula Fade, my body knows exactly what to do. And those are the ways of knowing that I discovered. And then what we do in Voice of Culture is something very special, because we do West African drum and dance with a Black American twist. And we take these rhythms, like for instance, there's a rhythm called kuku. It's a fishing dance from the Toma people. Okay. We came and brought it, and we're listening to it deeply, and we're doing the dance movements, and we're like, this is some bang, 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 ski, ski, ski. This is some straight up Chicago footworking, boom, boom, bam, bam. And we played it and we made it like that. And then we put the dance moves with it. And so we have it. And our piece is called Turned Up Cuckoo, because we added our Black American twist and flavor and seasonings. And it's like when you have to smell something. It's not a recipe. It's not, it's like, does it smell right? No, it don't smell right yet. Put more of this, put less of that, And so those are the things that we do in Voice of Culture. And we mix the drumming, the dancing, the singing, because that is also another unlock key of the way when you sing something, and when you sing together, and when you sing in harmony, There's so many magics and ways of knowing there. It's like, I know my best friend. We are not nothing alike, but we sing together, you know? And then the storytelling. That's the piece that is like the knowledge, the fifth element of hip hop, the storytelling, because it's the oral tradition of this dance is meant for this purpose, but it's told. It's not written in a book. It's not certified by anything other than your body, your breath, and your heartbeat. You know, so that is how drum and dance and singing and storytelling, we call them the griot skills. Those are the oral traditions that was passed down, and we still do it with our spoken word artists, our playwrights, our rappers, you know, our dancers, all of that. You know, those people whose sacral chakras are completely unlocked, those are the most liberated. Okay, the loud Black girls are the most liberated of us all. We can all take an example, open up our sacral chakras and shake it.
You know, and that ties into I sang in the Morehouse College Glee Club, and we have several pieces that we do that are from the Yoruba dialect. And Michael Babatunde Olatunde came in 1972 and did a workshop for the Glee Club and taught the African drums, the beats, the rhythms, the dialect, and the music. And what happens now is when new members join, they are taught by the older members. So it's been passed down since that time to each new freshman class that comes in and joins. The drum beats are taught to, the music is taught to, and that is the most powerful music we play.
Yeah.
Is the African pieces that we do, especially Betelehemu, which is an African Christmas song. And it ties into you know, the Yoruban dialect and the Yoruban culture, and you can feel the ancestors in that piece. You can feel it resonate out into the hall and call them forth as we're there singing in harmony, as you say, and just the connection. And it just goes to show that rap and hip hop and everything, the roots are back there in our African culture. It's back there in what we brought over, in what we bring forth, and it connects us into all of the pieces that our ancestors brought for us and allow us to move forward with.
Look, let me introduce you right quick. Look, oh shoot, I was unmuted. Dang it. Okay, look.
That's okay. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Fancy is the owner of the Legacy Building, co-owner with her partner E, and also the planner and the organizer of the entire Soul of the Southside Juneteenth Festival.
Hey, Fancy.
Hey, peace out.
Good.
But she's rooted in Rondo.
I just wanted to make sure I introduced her and let y'all know that I'm in here in the beautiful Legacy Building, and we've been talking about legacy. Why did you guys name this Legacy Building?
That's just what came out of our mouth.
Spirit.
A way of knowing. We've been talking about it. A way of knowing.
That's just what felt.
Absolutely.
You're right. The Legacy Building felt right.
Rose, let me segue a little bit. I just have to always ask you about your and my experience together in Ghana. But the one thing that I always think about is how you were fascinated, I think, by, was it pineapples? In Ghana at the restaurant we were at, they had some very sweet pineapples. I just remember you saying you've never had pineapples like this before. You remember that at all?
That's probably true. That's probably very true. And I, other than Hawaii, I still haven't had pineapples that good. And it was just, you know, I did real well eating the fruit. I don't know if you remember or not. I didn't care for the meats and things there. Yeah. But that's because I guess my body has just gotten so acclimated to all the injection and junk that we put in our own chickens. But I love the fruit. I could have just eaten the fruit every day. But Al, I don't know if you knew or not how impactful it was. And I'll go back even the first time I went to Ghana with Stair Step. And I included that in the play. How much I learned when we went up, especially up to Kumasi. And that's when I learned about this little woman named Yaa Asantewaa. And how she had, you know, stood up against that whole, you know, army to protect the golden stool. So brought that in. And then when I had a chance to go back with you, And we have that one legacy moment too, where we get there and there's Brother Seitu Jones and
Mhm.
Takumba Aiken,
Yep.
and here we all are, right? And they weren't with us; they
Uh-huh.
were just there for, what was it called? It was a whole diaspora thing where people were returning
Panifest.
from all over.
Panifest.
Manifest, yes,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was amazing. But those young people who went with us,
We got 10 seconds. We got 10 seconds.
okay, they still talk about it, and these are
Yeah.
grown people, and I'll just shut up now.
We're out of time. Listen, thank you, Rose McGee. Thank you, Kendra
Thank
Kaufman. Thank you,
you.
Jonathan Palmer. Everybody, Juneteenth, now and forever. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Okay, there we go.